meeting of the Port Richey City Council, Tuesday, March 12th, 2019, to order. Please rise for the invocation and remain standing for the Pledge of Allegiance.
God, our creator of all there is and ever shall be, we ask you to shine your light upon our city, our state, and our country, granting us peace and wisdom, allowing our city council to make the highest decisions for the city, for the best and the good of our city. And we ask you to bless our residents and all our city workers. For this we are thankful. Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Will the clerk please call the roll?
Acting Mayor Terrence Rowe.
Here.
Councilwoman Jenny Sorrell.
Here.
Councilman William Dittmer.
Here.
Councilman Richard Bloom.
Here.
City Attorney James Matthew.
Here.
City Manager Vincent Lupo.
Here. Do I have a motion to approve the minutes?
Motion approved, council minutes.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Comments from the general public? Mr. Thomas Brown.
Thomas Brown, 7436 Candlelight Court. I have an accumulation of facts to present tonight. They are not in chronological order. At a council meeting, the McLaurys asked about channel dredging. The city manager responded saying channels to be dredged are out for bid. The McLaurys got a response. Also at that meeting, the McLaurys asked about city code violations. They got a response from Councilman Bloom. I have asked the city manager which easements in the city am I not allowed on, because the public is not allowed on the public easement behind 7447 Candlelight Court. I have not received a response. At a council meeting, a Mr. Lee inquired about traffic cameras. He got a response from Chief DeCanio. I have asked the mayor by way of the city clerk for a copy of the letter that he referenced at the December 11th, 2018 council meeting. I have not received a response. At a council meeting, a Mr. Vittorioso asked about trash pickup hours. He got a response from the mayor. At a council meeting, Mr. Lee asked about FCT approval for the projects at Waterfront Park. He got a response from our assistant city manager. At a council meeting, I asked if we were going to get a replacement recycled dumpster at City Hall. I got no response. At the next council meeting, a resident, not the city, informed the public that there is a recycled dumpster at the city firehouse. I have asked Code Enforcement Alex to clarify front base building line. I have not received a response. City Code and Ordinance states that a fence cannot be erected on a public easement. However, the city issued a resident a permit to erect 2 fences on a public easement. A resident cannot erect a fence on property that the resident does not own, but the city issued permits for a resident to erect fences on property that the resident does not own. Common sense and safety issues would tell you that you cannot erect a fence into a public lake, but the city issued a resident permits to erect a fence into a public lake. The city put up a no swimming sign near the edge of the lake to weaken any lawsuit that may arise from someone that gets cut on the chain link fence that is in the toxic lake. City code states that you cannot erect a fence between the front base building line of your house and the street. The city issued a resident a permit to erect a fence between the front base building line of the resident's home and the street. From City Council meeting minutes, I present you with a quote.
Just a minute. Okay. Continue.
From City council meeting minutes, I present you with a quote from our city manager pertaining to the blatant past violations of city code. Quote, "The fencing issue has been reviewed several times by council past and present and previous city managers. The current opinion on the fencing subject is justified and lawful," unquote. This tells me that I can violate city code and ordinance if, in the opinion of the council and the city manager, it is justified and lawful. Should some residents be issued permits to take an action that violates city code and ordinance? Thank you.
Thank you. Michael Grimes.
Mr. Mayor and respected council members, I have a couple items to address. Sal's going to pass out some information that I pulled from the website today. We have several projects working, and the city website does not provide accurate or sufficient information regarding current projects. The documents provided were pulled today, listing the projects by department with a completion date column. The majority of the projects listed are ongoing, upcoming, or completed. The only two with a time frame are dredging on channels 1 and 18 and the rehab of Nick's boat ramp indicating 2019. The completion date of 2019 is vague. In addition, you'll see that document is dated August of 2018. The only way to drive production and success and development is a specific action plan that yields results. As a resident, I have no idea what project is a priority, nor do I see any time set when these projects are expected to start to be completed. Some of the projects listed are normal duties or administrative actions expected by the city. You'll notice there's a fire truck on there. I don't know how much money we're going to keep dumping in that fire truck, and it says ongoing. Could council please work with the city manager and staff to update the project list by Friday, March 15th? Providing an updated status on all projects listed and those not listed with an expected start date and completion date. An interesting project that's not listed is the hike and bike trail. This is a priority in our community, but it's not listed. The second item I want to address, the current city budget is excessive. Could council please review the current budget for areas where we can reduce cost? I would also like council to consider, with the city manager, establishing a budget committee. A budget committee made up of local residents would create more transparency within the community on how taxpayer dollars are spent. Also, a budget committee provides information on how the city manager and his staff propose to allocate resources and funds to each department. Thank you.
Thank you. Todd?
Todd McClary, 8731 Betty Street. I was referenced earlier. In the previous meeting, actually, I'm speaking about one of that. I did raise the question in the previous meeting on how I would get our canal on the dredging schedule. I was told previously that it's not on the dredging schedule and that someone would look into it and provide me a contact of whom I could contact to get on the dredging schedule, but that was never provided. Any help would be greatly appreciated. This last meeting, I spoke about requesting an ordinance on the number of dogs that are allowed within city limits. Currently, there is no limit, so any person could essentially house and start a kennel within the city limits without any requirements, registration, or anything. I have videos that I could show any one of the council members after this meeting or during this meeting of what is 9 dogs exceeding all of your sound ordinances within the city, because that's what 9 dogs do. So I again request the council address this issue, that there are essentially no limits on the number of dogs that can be kept by a household, homeowner, or kennel within city limits without any proper permit. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Sandra Spalding?
Sandra Spalding, 8612 Green Street. I just want to bring this up now. I know it's on the agenda for later, but when I get to speak later, you guys already made up your mind. So I'd like to put some input in now. as far as choosing someone to take a temporary seat on the council. Years ago, they had chosen, when Phyllis Gray came in second, that she take the seat when someone left. And she did, because she was next on the voting list. What I would suggest is we don't have much time until the next election of mayor. Why not think about putting a former council member up, because they don't have to be trained, they know the routine, they know how the city is run. That's my suggestion. Thank you.
Mr. Blaine Lee.
Blaine Lee, 5713 Berlin. Some of these subjects I brought up last meeting, but I'll bring them up again. The FCT approved the dog park in September of last year. Do we have a start date? FC approved the new location for the children's play area at Waterfront Park. Do we have a start date for that? I'd like to know what the intention of the kayak, the so-called kayak launch that was built next to the restroom area in Waterfront Park was. It's certainly not a kayak launch. Does the city have any easements in the waterfront overlay district so the roads could be widened? Who is responsible for fixing the potholes along Treadway that are damaging our roads? And the last meeting I gave, there was a handout, there was a map. I don't know if you remember that or not, but never got any response on that either. And has the intersection of Treadway and Bayview been evaluated by our police department for possible change in traffic control devices? Is there any news from the FCT about Heritage Day yet? Do we have any plans for what we're going to be doing at the Chasko Festival? I understand we have a tent space, but I haven't heard anything about, you know, if we're gonna utilize it or who's gonna man it or what for 9 days. That's all, thank you.
Do we have any answers for Mr. Lee on some of those subjects? Because
Certainly.
the date's coming up fairly quick.
As far as the FCT is concerned, we've contacted them as late as this afternoon, and we still have not received any response with respect to the questions that were given to us by the CAC chairperson as to the activities that they've outlined. So we have no affirmative response from FCT. As far as the CAC committee is concerned, council had requested that we try and find a $500 amount of funds for the CAC. We have isolated $500 to be made available to the CAC for their activities. As far as some of the other issues that Mr. Lee has brought up, I can have Chris speak to and Mr. Foss speak to some issues, in particular the damage to Treadway, about who's responsible for it, and what we intend to do with respect to that. There was some other damage that occurred out in Treadway, but that's a police matter, and they'll be attending to that. Basically what I have from Mr. Lee.
Okay.
Mr. Mayor, can I address this? So Mr. Lee addressed the initiation or start date for a dog park. Do we have that date?
We have outlined the area. We can start immediately. We intend to, once again, lay it out, ensure that this is the location that council wants. Council's already approved it. We can start immediately after I am sure that council agrees to that specific location. We can start in the morning after council sees the site. It is the site that we laid out that council has looked at, but we want to confirm that that is the site. Once we start digging ground, we don't want to stop again. We have concurrence from FCT for location.
Okay, did we not vote on that site? Well, I believe we did. Did you recall, Jim?
I can't recall.
Okay,
We did.
I know you discussed it.
We'll start tomorrow morning.
okay. And the children's play area?
Children's play area is the same function. We've laid it out. We're ready to roll forward with it. Chris is prepared to do it. We'll move forward with it. Chris?
Right now, we're underway in renovating the bathrooms. I mean, we just picked up brush. It's that busy time of year mowing, so I only have so many people I can put on all three projects at once.
Do you have any idea when you could start the children's play area?
I'm hoping to be done with the renovations of the bathrooms in less than 3 weeks, as long as we don't foresee any unknown problems. And
So-
we're gonna start on the next project immediately.
So after the renovations of the bathrooms, you'll address the children's area?
Yes, sir.
Playground, okay. And he also brought up an interesting point about the city owning any easement property to widen the roadways down there in the
I'm not-
WOD. Are you aware of any of that?
I am not aware of any, sir.
You, Jim? Jim?
Not off the top of my head.
Oh, okay.
We'll certainly do some more research, but I
Can we
don't,
look into it? I mean,
sure we'll do research.
yeah, because that's going to help with the water overlay district. I mean,
Correct.
It'll be huge.
Sure.
Okay. And the Founder's Day, you have not heard back from the FCT?
We have not
For what they
heard back,
wanted to do?
we have not heard back from FCT concurring in the request that was presented to us by the CAC for them to review. And that is as late as today.
Pete Barnett.
Steve Barnett, 8428 Green Street. Last 4 meetings, there's been gentlemen up here disparaging the council and our appointed officials. Having done a little research, the gentleman has never voted in Port Richey. He does not duly own any property in Port Richey. And his wife has an illegal fence in Port Richey, so I would like the council to take that into account when they listen to his complaints. Thank you.
Kathy Todd.
Kathy Todd, 8301 Congress Street, Port Richey. I have some papers that was given to me by citizens and taxpayers of the city. They wanted me to read, but with comments that's just being made, I'm gonna speak from my heart. First of all, we don't want the past back up here. They, regardless of if they have knowledge, if they're corrupt or if they're for their own agenda, we don't want it. City does not need it, and we do not want it. If you're sitting on council and you're using your position to get what you want, you're wrong, dead wrong. If you're up here and you don't live in the city and you don't even pay tax dollars in this city, you don't even apply. You don't even care. We pay the tax dollars. We vote you in. What's got me mad is that someone speaks on let's bring back this junk from the past. No, we've been embarrassed too many times. We need to move forward and we need to get rid of the trash. Speaking of trash, if I bring up your name, I don't mean to hurt your feelings, but I'm gonna say some stuff. City manager, there's some, you do your own agenda.
Before you start, Kathy, please address all the comments to the chair.
Correct, yes, sir. You have taken on personal agendas for yourself without regards to the city. We know this for a fact. There are things you have done that you've not even discussed with the council. There's council didn't even know about it and you made these decisions. This is a team thing here. It's not up to you. Mr. Matha, city attorney, you have embarrassment after embarrassment. You've been with Mayor Massad. You've got legal ties and the properties and whatever, you know, for your own interest. I don't know how deep that goes, but I know there's ties. And I also know that there's issues that, personal agendas, again, is what I'm speaking of. And your favoritism. The one mayor we had that went to jail for tax evasion, you spoke on behalf as a character witness. Are you kidding me? I mean, gosh, Mr. Brown, he's been going on about this fence forever. He's been up here. You know he's in the right. He's in the right. Just do it. It's all because of the past that you're not changing these, you're just letting it happen. And then, as far as we need to move forward, we need a fresh look, we don't need the past, and if you're, like I said again, if your knowledge is not worthy, we don't need your knowledge. Bottom line. Thank you.
That completes our list. Anyone else want to speak before I move on? Sir?
Thomas Mariani, 5602 Bay Boulevard. Just want to know what's going on at the corner of Wilkins and Bay with that generator that sits almost in the road. I mean, it's a hazard. I'm going to tell you right now, something's going to happen. And I just want to know, is there light at the end of the tunnel there or what?
Sure.
That's part of the upgrade to that station that Lennar Homes is paying for. Tomorrow's the startup date. I'm hoping everything will be cleared off the corner of Bay Boulevard no later than Monday morning.
Thank you.
Anyone else? You already spoke. I can't let you speak again. Anyone? Okay. Comments from the city manager.
Council and citizens, I would just simply like to show you a clipping from a newspaper that has to do with the increase of the water rates in Pasco County. This city has not increased its water rates for the past 2 years. We'll be back to council shortly during the budget cycle to discuss the issue, and at that point in time, council may choose to increase those rates, or it may choose to leave them at their current value. The pumping of our stations continues at a significant level. We have just recently approved well number 7 to become a producing well. It will allow us to rest some of our wells. It allows us to alternate some of the wells. It allows us a greater latitude with the production of water and the distribution of water at a fair and economical rate. As far as other projects are concerned, here is an updated project list, not from August of 2018, but from through January of this year. It has the kind of terminology that we've been using for some time, but in view of some of the more recent comments we'll add some more specifics as far as dates are concerned. This report was generally made as an overall sketch so that council can get a rough idea of what was occurring, and that individual department head reports would be in more detail. But at least this is a current look at what is occurring, and not necessarily a look some 5 or 6 months ago. We are just now coming past the end of the year. We're beginning to sit down with individual department heads to reconstruct some of their budgets. We intend to move forward. And our next council meeting will have the individual department head reports as we normally do. And that is the report that I have for you, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, so we'll take it to mayor and council. Council have any statements?
I'll make a statement here if I can, if I
Okay.
may. I think I can, but if I may. One of the residents here brought up the issue of the number of dogs in the household, I guess. Can you turn this up a little bit or not?
Your button in?
Is it in?
Yeah, now it is.
So I really have to lean. So, I appreciate that, and I think that's a concern. I think most of us would think it would be a concern, especially if you were a neighbor, but is there anybody aware of any ordinances in our neighboring cities or in the county of limitations on the number of dogs per household? Maybe
Mr. Foss, could you answer that?
I haven't seen anything as far as that. We can look into it, but I haven't seen.
We certainly have rules and regulations with respect to kennels about, so that's a different issue. But the number of animals that someone might have, I have no knowledge, but we certainly will check into it.
I was gonna say, I think when the gentleman brought
He
it up,
might have some knowledge.
he referenced Newport Ritchie or the county.
Yeah, I think he did last time.
I believe Pasco County has a limit of 6 dogs.
Uh,
5 dogs, 5 full-size dogs.
Okay.
Well, I think we, council, should consider maybe enacting some kind of limitation, maybe endorse Pasco County's limitation, or however many you want to have, but maybe we can put that on the agenda for our next meeting and discuss it.
We can check with the other cities too to see what they have.
Yeah,
Sure.
in the interim.
We'll come back with additional information
Sal.
beyond Pasco.
Anything else from,
I do, but it's related to the agenda, so I'll wait.
to the agenda? Okay. Very well. I have a couple things, I guess I'll share them now. This week, I was invited to a meeting at the county. They are discussing the possibility of dredging out Quist Canal on Quist Drive. It was an emergency dredge that they did before the storm last year to clear out the culvert area. But that, I believe, from what they said, opened the door to a possibility of dredging the entire canal under the same venue, I guess you'd call it. So anyway, it's far from a done deal. I just wanted to keep everybody in the loop on this. Previous Mayor Massad had worked on this and had given me a heads up to contact Jack Mariano. Jack Mariano is doggedly pursuing this, so we're hoping for a successful outcome. I told them if they had any questions to get a hold of Chris Hughes, but right now it's basically the engineers, and SwiftMud was also there. We talked about some flooding issues, and he asked me if there was anything else in the city that might be something that they could address that would alleviate some flooding issues. And I brought to their attention several areas, including the flooding that occurs down on Old Post and Bay Boulevard, and people drive into the swales there and ruin their cars. So all those things were brought up, and he took notes on everything that I had given him, and I had a very positive response from them. So I'm looking forward to good things coming out of that meeting. I was also contacted today by somebody at the county as I went through my daily routine, and the county, as of today, has approved a paving contract. So that means they're going to start paving. So our project is on their list. As soon as they settle all that and find the dates for all of these, we will have a date as to when they will be paving Orange Grove, and I will give that to you as soon as I hear it. And with that, Council, any reports from boards and committees today?
Hang on, Mr. Mayor, can I just jump in here for 1
Sure.
second, because you ignited my memory here on flooding. It was a little while ago, and I don't recall the exact date. I made a motion, it was kind of a 3-part motion about flooding the homes, the culverts and the streets, and you were gonna work on that.
Yes, sir. We contacted our engineer of record, Chris Martin. He's doing some analysis on several different sections. We also contacted a different engineering firm to come back with some analysis for us to present to council. We're still awaiting those.
So it's in,
It's in process.
it's in process.
Yes, sir.
And I would encourage any resident who has a flooding issue to let Mr. Lupo's office know, because the thought here is to remedy it. And they're not gonna remedy it if they don't know it exists.
Okay. Anything else? Any report from the boards and committees? Looks like we might have something.
Laurie Simpson, 5006 Sunset Boulevard. I'm here on behalf of the Citizens Advisory Committee. We got our new shirts, paid for them ourselves. We've done 2 cleanups. We've cleaned up Brasher Park, we've cleaned up Saltwater Park, we've put in a new free library. We're working on new mini libraries. We're gathering feedback from the citizens. We're working on this Heritage Day celebration and getting lots of community interest in being involved. So I'm going to make this real short and sweet. I'm here for 2 yeses tonight. I need a yes for the flyer approval, and then a yes to allow the city manager or the assistant city manager to approve little things like this for us in the future, so we don't have to come here and bother you and wait 2 weeks.
Super.
That's what I'm asking for.
Okay.
Thank you.
Can we facilitate them?
In fact, we have. In fact, we've transmitted this information. We need some additional information for FCT to approve the function. This is not our function to approve. Once FCT approves the functions, we can move forward, and that's exactly what I stated earlier. We have transmitted information to FCT as late as of today, again, and still have not had a response from them. But as soon as we do, we'll contact the committee chairperson and let her know. She brought this to my attention. In fact, she brought these exact flyers to me several days ago. We've been working on them.
Yeah, I mean, we're down to 2 months to plan an event that normally takes 6 months to plan. But
You moved exceedingly quickly for an event that does take an awful amount of time, and the resources that you're devoting to it is awesome. But we can only do what we can do. FCT controls a lot of this. I spoke to the committee chairperson. We spoke about the $500 allowance that council had authorized. We found those funds. We spoke to her about other forms of assistance. She's been very active with it. We're doing the best we can, but we can't move forward until we have permission. And unfortunately, your effort is stymied by that, and unless we can come up with an alternative. The issue with respect, we resolved the issue with respect to fire department, volunteers selling, that's been resolved. The issue as far as alcohol will come back to council. Council certainly will grant a one-time pass. I'm fairly certain if that is council's choice. So we've grappled with these issues. We're still awaiting final approval from FCT, and we are stuck with that.
Well, I think we're prepared to even go forward with this without the park if we had to, because we could just work with the businesses in the waterfront district.
That may be the only alternative you have because of the crush of time that we're under. But we're moving. We've done everything we can on this side of the fence. We're pushing them as hard as we possibly can up at FCT.
Well, can we promote this event and still wait for the park to be approved and still work on it for a community waterfront district project?
That's entirely up to you whether you think you can do that and still have a successful event. We'll assist any way we possibly can. We've already said that we would make as much staff as available as possible. I don't know where else to go with this.
All right, thank you.
When did that request go into the FCT?
The original request was February 22nd, which was, I believe, the day that we had the meeting about it. And we sent it that day. So it's been since that time. And we've communicated several times to try to get an answer, and it's just, we haven't gotten one, a definitive answer.
Is there any way of reaching them by phone and asking them
We
if there's
have.
a delay?
We have.
And you have nothing? It's unusual for them.
They're moving it through their organization.
The reason we're trying to have it on that date is because it's the birth date of the city. So that's
No.
why we picked that date.
We have no flaw or no concern about that. We just need permission.
Huh.
We'll
Mayor.
get to you as soon as we possibly can.
Jen?
Her second part was, can they come to the city manager to get permission to do things without having to take up the council's time?
Absolutely.
Okay.
If it's within my purview, certainly.
I think we actually said that the
It
approval of
was.
signs and everything can be
Certainly.
done by Vince.
Okay.
Certainly. I have that purview.
Okay,
So
so the
can we get
second part,
approval for
yes.
this flyer to start promoting this, whether we have the park or not?
The flyer isn't the issue, it's what your flyer is requesting in the park. That's the issue. The flyers are approved, that's not the issue. It's what you're requesting and the permission that's required. You know, if you advertise an event in the park and they say, no, you can't have it in the park.
Well,
And now you have an awful lot of people who are pretty well upset out there.
What if we change the flyer to read Waterfront District and not say the park?
Certainly.
And then if the park comes through, then we, of course, include the park.
That's an alternative plan that you and your committee can work out. I'm certainly amenable to it.
Okay. So is that, okay, is that all the permission we need? Or what?
Yes, correct.
Because the people involved are really, this is a really great committee, a lot of energy, and they're really trying to do something good for the city.
No question about that.
Bring everybody together.
And we're
so
trying to support you as much as possible.
We're just running into a lot of red tape, and
Sure.
it's frustrating.
Well, we sure appreciate everything you guys are doing, and the shirts are very nice.
They're very bright. Thank you.
Let's go to the agenda. Do I have a motion for the consent agenda?
Motion to approve consent agenda.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
All right. Go to council business. First, number 3 is nomination and appointment of city resident to the vacant city council seat. I've got a question before we proceed. I did some research on this. Could not find anything in the charter that validated this, but in the past, it's always been recommended that we pick someone that has been in the city for a year and had been a voter for the year and did not have any felonies, misdemeanors, or things of that nature. Mr. Matthau, I looked through that charter. I could not find any verbiage to that at all. Just that it was a citizen in good standing, I guess was the way they termed it.
I think technically, I don't have it here in front of me, but it's a qualified city resident. Qualified is defined in the charter, being someone who's lived here for, it'd be the same for running for office, okay? So it would be the same qualification. That means residing in the city for 12 months, no felony record, that's state law, and taking an oath over 18, things like that. It's in the charter. Qualified city resident. So whoever it is would meet the same standard as someone running for that office.
Okay. With that being said, I will open the floor for council nominations to fill this position.
Before we do that, one thing I'd like to address is at the last meeting, we said we would set a criteria for people to apply. There may be citizens out there who are waiting for us to set a criteria before they come in. So then we're going to deny them the opportunity by nominating. We're stepping the process that we said we would do. We said that we would set forth the criteria for the people to meet. There could be citizens out there that are waiting for us to set a criteria before they appear, to put their name in to be part of the council.
So we have set that criteria. As far as I'm concerned, the charter is very definite about this. This position is to be filled, in its own words, immediately.
Give me the
So-
definition of immediately.
That means Now.
No, it does not. It does not mean that. What you have to look for is
What criteria and how would we go
Mr. Mayor,
about that
Mr.
without
Mayor,
charter?
we said we would set a criteria for the people to apply to. There's people out there besides the ones that are here who are waiting for us to set a criteria to put their name in the hat. You're gonna deny them that opportunity by skipping that process?
It
No,
is-
yes or no? That's what you wanna do.
I'm going to tell you what the charter says. The charter said it is up to this council to make a decision to fill that seat immediately. Charter. Now, do you want to go against the charter? Because that's what it says.
Then I will vote nay.
Well,
Because we are not doing.
I have given-
We are not doing what we told the citizens that we would do, period.
okay. But if it goes against the charter, I ask if we
It
can
doesn't go
even
against the
do
charter.
it.
Next week is immediate. Jim, excuse me, the definition of immediate, is that one meeting? There's no definition.
There's no definition of immediate.
I know.
I'm not, you know, this council gets to decide the nominating process.
And we set forth that we would set forth that process.
Totally whatever this council will agree upon, really. is.
Okay, I'll leave it up to council. I'm telling the public, this is unnecessary delay. Evidently, someone has a agenda, in my opinion. But it's up to I'm just here to run the meeting, so I'm looking for my 3 council mates to fill this seat, and I believe it should be done tonight. I sent out an email to let them know that they should make their selections and contact their people and ask them if they would be here tonight, so I don't see why we can't move forward, but that again will be up to my council mates. Do we have any motions, any action on this?
I want to just add something. Definition of immediately, at once, instantly.
Well, that should have been last week then.
I'm just Googled it.
I meant in the charter.
So there you go. Just out of curiosity, I must have had a small cerebral vascular accident. What criteria were you talking about?
At the meeting, I believe Vince stated that we would set forth in the next meeting the qualifications of what we want to use for the criteria to appoint a person to the council.
Vince is not a council member.
Yeah, and I'm just going to comment on that. That's out of his domain to even suggest that. This is this is what we do, and I disagree with that coming from the city manager. I think if we want to do that, then that's certainly different. But I don't think that Mr. Lupo is involved in that process at all, setting any criteria or conditions for us, the council, for electing somebody to fill the seat. All due respect, Will, I don't think so. But if you want to set those criteria, by all means, what criteria or were you thinking?
The criteria I'd say is basically what we covered, what a candidate would have to do if they were running for the position, that criteria.
Which was outlined initially here. I
Just
believe.
now, but not set forth, not given to a notice. In other words, we didn't set it for people who are on the outside saying, oh, I would have liked to throw my hat in, but I was waiting for you guys to tell us what the criteria would be.
It's essentially, if I might,
The criteria is set by the charter
What?
and by the election.
Hold on a minute, I'll let you speak in a minute.
sir, if I might, Mayor, I didn't set any criteria. I simply parroted what was set up by this council. It was that you were going to come back and open it up for the public, set a criteria for them to apply to you. I just parroted whatever you said. It wasn't my decision. I don't make that. I have no right to make that decision.
Is there anybody that you know or we know of that wants to fill this seat? Do you know of anybody?
We don't know because we didn't give them the criteria in advance, but
I've already asked someone to fill the position based on the fact that I believe that it's only about 7 meetings that we're going to have until we have a new mayor. So I was thinking that someone that has been on the council before would be much more comfortable than someone who has not been on the council before. So I came prepared to nominate someone.
What do you think about that?
Well, I wanted to set a criteria. If you guys, I mean, you don't need me. You've got the votes to move the agenda forward. I just think that we bypassed what we said we were gonna do. That's my only point.
Well, I'm going to leave this up to you. All in favor of moving forward on this?
Well, I think Ms. Sorrell's in favor. It sounded like it. She's ready to nominate someone.
Well, I'm going on the email that we got earlier, and that's what I based my decision on. And I understand Councilman Dittmer's reasoning, because we do have a tendency not to tell the public what we need to do. But according to the charter, it is past citizen and upstanding citizen, 12 months and no felony. Well, I'd like to nominate Nancy Britton because she was the last sitting council person, and she's only 10 months away.
Okay, I'm going to...
Yeah, can I?
You got somebody with experience?
Oh, come on. No, no. No, not right now. Not till I get to the public. Go ahead.
The Saturday after the mayor resigned, I sent an email to the council members, so I'll take fault for it, saying at the next agenda, I recommend to Mr. Lupo to put on the agenda a discussion of the nominating process. I did that for two reasons, because now, the previous agenda then had already been set, so this is that meeting, okay, which was discussed somewhat at the last meeting. Not the qualifications, but the nominating process. Did that for two reasons. Number one, after review of parliamentary procedure, Robert's rules, okay, you go by what your charter or bylaws say, and I'm paraphrasing, but if we don't have anything, then it's set by you. I then researched what the city did. At the last time when the mayor passed away, what the city did was, to determine the nominating process, they'd held 3 meetings. First meeting, they brought in, I have them here. They brought in Mr. Corley to explain the process of filling the seat and when this special election would be and things like that, and they had questioned him. At the second meeting, the council then discussed the process, not the qualifications. The qualifications are in, I could read you the section number, but this is when you appoint someone, the city council will nominate qualified city residents, okay? And qualified is a city residence is set forth in the charter. I told you what that was a few minutes ago. It's not a discussion on qualified city residents. I brought it up as a discussion on the process. So the only history I have is what was done then. Then at the second meeting, back when I believe Mr. Colombo was presiding, he's probably here, he can probably tell you more than I can. I'm just reading from the agenda. They decided that the council members would seek out qualified residents, bring them here, let them speak for a certain amount of time, and then nominations from the city council members. I presume they discussed the length of time they would speak. Could each council member bring more than one, okay? When you do the nominations, who nominates first? That'll make a big difference if there's 7 people on the list. If you're nominating the first person, you get a majority vote. What do? Go to the 7th one. I mean, these is a process, okay? And then in the next week, at the third council meeting, that's what they did. They brought the citizens before here and did that. Okay, now I'm not saying you have to do that. I'm just answering for why I said do it that way, is because it was done in the past and we don't have a nominating process. But you have every right to pick someone right now. I don't want to stop that. Whether it's immediate or not, I'm not going to go down that road. I don't want to get in the middle of it. So you can do it now.
You know, well, that's the way the previous council handled the
Doesn't mean
matter.
you have to do it.
Exactly. It doesn't mean,
Absolutely.
and I think the charter's pretty clear on what needs to be done from that, you know, and they use the word immediately, so,
It's
I mean.
your choice. Yeah. No right or wrong here.
Well, you nominated him, huh?
Nancy Britton as our last sitting council person. We
Will-
have several in the city.
Will, do you have anybody you want to? I'm going to nominate Matt Todd.
Do I have a second for Matt Todd? Okay. The nomination fails for a second. We have any other nominations from the floor? Oh, wait a minute. I'm sorry, I'm in error. I have to have a second for Nancy Britton. Do I have a second for Nancy Britton? Okay, that nomination fails for a second. Are there any other nominations from the council? Okay, then it looks like we're stalemate here. We do put it on, I mean, this has got to be filled, folks, so what's your pleasure?
I don't have any answers, not to be sarcastic or anything, we don't have a process, so whatever you decide, whatever you want to do next.
I personally like to have a process. I'd like to hear from the people who would like to fill the seat.
Okay.
I mean, I think that's the only fair way to do it, just to push it through. I'd like, you know, they get to hear, we get to hear, we all get a choice that way. So I'd like to do that.
If we follow the process that previous councils have followed, there'll be 3 meetings before we have any person filling that chair.
We can have people apply who want to apply, and at the next meeting, they can come and speak their piece.
How would they know what qualifications you want?
We just said the qualifications, Jim did.
I question that qualification too, because I couldn't find anything to just, you know, a direct, you know, I'm looking for a definition in the charter of
I
qualified.
read to you from the charter a moment ago where it says qualified city resident, right there. Section, if there are more than 45 days remaining in a vacated council seat, the council will nominate qualified city residents. If you give us some time, I can tell you what qualified means.
I want to see it in print. That's what I didn't find when I was
You
looking.
didn't see this in print?
No, I saw that. The word qualified. Usually in the charter, there's a definition for terms, and sometimes they're not quite what we think they are.
It's most likely in the code. I can find it for you, but we have a standard that's in the code of the charter. I can go outside and find it for you, but when you run for election, it says qualified residents, and it lists what those are.
Okay.
I mean, I can get it if you want.
Well, again, I'm at the council's pleasure. What, you want to delay this till next meeting? I guess we're going to have
I'd like
to.
to give the opportunity to citizens who want to apply, who want to come up and tell us why they want to be here and why they want that position, temporary position. I think we should have that at the next meeting. Let them come up, let them talk, and we can take a vote.
Okay. Are we in consensus on that?
Well, we obviously can't elect anybody tonight, so the only other alternative is either to, you know, vote with Will's opinion or suggestion, or we're gonna have an empty seat.
Okay. Well, then I'm looking for a motion to table this till next meeting.
Or do we need a motion that we're going to interview or let the citizens come forward? What kind of motion do we need for that, Jim?
Depends on what you want to do. If you want to set forth what the process is, discuss it and make a
Yes.
motion. It's up to you. It's up to the council. You can
Well,
do it any way you
I'd like to
want.
make the motion
I
for
don't-
those
I don't
that
push it one
want
way or
to
the other.
apply for this position to be prepared for our next meeting to come forth and address council.
Okay. Do I have a second? Oh, come on, we're looking a little inept here, folks. Can we have a second on that or not?
Second.
Okay. With that, I'm going to go to the public because there's several people that asked. John, you want to come up? No, you're done. Anyone else want to speak to this? Mr. Colombo, come on up.
Bill Colombo, 7810 Chatsworth Street. Yeah, Terry, you and I were up there last go-around. It took a long time. I understand Mr. Differ's point in setting out a procedure. We spent a lot of time trying to get the system in place, so it took us a while to get there, but it is kind of there. So I think the approach of scheduling it for the next meeting have those folks come up who are willing to sit in that chair and then follow the standard nominating process, which is basically nominate a second and vote it out and go ahead and get it going. It is important to get it going. Yeah, it took too long last time because it is a little vague. But I would say, though, I agree with, I believe, the point Mr. Matthew was making is that when it says qualifying person, it's implied that qualifying means qualified to sit in the chair that they're going to sit in. So whatever the qualifications are for that chair, that is what qualifies somebody to either permanently or by vote or by appointment. That's what qualifies them to sit in that chair. So just adding a little, having done it just like you did, just my experience. Thank you.
Question.
John?
John King, 7749 Pier Road, Portage, Florida. Qualifications are set forth by state statute. The same qualifications that are required for a person, any person that wants to be in a position of authority, set forth in state statutes. You don't need anything else. Let's not complicate the issue, please. This should have been done tonight, in my opinion.
I'm sorry, Sandy. Matt had his hand up first.
Matthew Todd, 8301 Congress. Comment was, someone made a comment, in all due respects, people that sat there, council members that sat there before. I don't know how to say this without being, I'm trying to say this to get it political correct. Look where experience of council members that sat in them chairs previously, what they have done to this city. Previous council members that are sitting here that just spoke cost this city $1.9 million to buy water from the city of Newport Richey. Both council members that are sitting here, that the particular council member that addressed it, nominated it, has directed and voted in that direction. And some other stuff to that aspect about bankrupt this city. So if that's what appointing someone that has sat there before and you call that experience, well then have at it, because your tax dollars is going to go right through the roof, because the people that set yous there where you are right now are the people that are behind me and other people out here that got you people elected from the people that destroyed this community. Because I don't know if you know this or not, you need to go out and speak with the people out in different areas. This city is a joke. We are laughed upon when you tell somebody you're from Port Richey. Oh my God, all the scandals that go on, all the scandals that we've been. I mean, this arrest, this mayor locked up, that mayor locked up. We got one sitting here that testified for him, and this is experience. Really? I mean, that's experience, and someone says that's the experience, that's what it takes to sit there. It takes intelligence, is what it takes. Thank you.
Sandy? Sandy?
I agree with Mr. Dittmer, and I think that we should do that. This way it gives other people opportunities to apply if they want to do it. Did you hear me now?
No, yes.
Want me to repeat it?
No. Mike?
Michael Grimes, 5440 Quist. Being that we're going to make an extra step in the charter to do this, can the city publish what type of requirement, what they're looking for, college degree, what type of experience? And I mean, we want to make sure we have somebody, at least with a high school diploma, that's up here. So being that we're going to put an extra step in, can the city publish what their requirements are?
That's not required.
I mean, that's an
according
extra
to-
step that we're putting in place, right?
No, we're not putting an extra step in.
Well, the qualifications are.
We're gonna go from those qualifications.
Okay, but what are you looking for?
It's set forth in the charter.
We've already gone through the charter. The
Right.
acting mayor outlined it, but what are you looking for in addition?
We're not looking
That's
for
what I'm
anything,
asking.
nothing additional.
So it could be anybody.
It could be
Exactly.
anybody that meets the criteria.
12 months and has voted here, right?
Right, that's part of it.
And no felonies. So that means it's open to anybody. You could actually make a decision now.
No, we want to give everybody the opportunity. Some people were waiting for us to set something for them, even if it's,
Okay, but what are you setting?
we're setting it now.
We already know what the charter says. What else in
That
addition
you know
are
what the
you
charter
setting?
says, the people
So
who
you
are
wanna
here, the people
interview
who
everybody.
have them come up.
Okay, so that's different. We want to have an interview of the residents to find somebody that you deem qualified to be in that seat, correct?
Well, not deemed qualified, they have to be qualified to even come up.
Okay, all right. That's all I want to know.
Thank you. Sir?
Todd McClary, 8731 Betty Street. Just to confirm, it seems like this is going to be an interview process that is occurring next week. As far as the interview process in and of itself, are you going to be publishing the criteria? Everyone speaks for 1 minute, 2 minute, 3 minute, you go through. Is it voted on individually, or do you go through the entire applicant series and then vote on at the end? I think it's fair to publish ahead of time exactly how this is going to work to all the residents here who seem interested to at least put themselves up for nomination, and then advertise that accordingly. So some thought should go in ahead of time instead of just saying, come here next week and speak. I think some people probably want to prepare themselves ahead of time for speaking for that 1, 2, 3 minute process, and establish their criteria, at least what they feel their criteria is to be analyzed by council. So thank you.
Kathy Todd?
Okay, this is gonna be good. 8301 Congress Street. First of all, I'm gonna be redundant. I'm gonna repeat myself. Stupidity gets us nowhere. Going backwards gets you nowhere. 3 steps back to get 1 step forward. We've used past council. It was failed. It was a failure. 1 step down because she didn't want to do it anymore. Don't get back in our business. We're done with you. Move on. Move forward. Clean it up. Glad that we're setting standards finally. Our past people had DUIs, city manager, had convicts and stuff in their closets and check fraud, and good Lord, I could go on. I could pull up a lot. We've got one that sleeps with the other one here. Seriously, we need that. We're moving forward. Favoritism, your man, you're sitting there and your man's up here too? You kidding me? This city needs to wake up and realize what we got going on. It is funny. It is comical. I'll laugh with you. I'm serious. Set a standard. Let's get something that ain't trash, that hasn't got, all kinds of convict records and DUIs and whatever else they got going on. You know what? Let's make it, and your experience will come. If you got the knowledge, you'll learn, and you'll be straightforward and honest, and that's what we want. That's what we're looking for. Thank you.
Anyone else? One more.
John St. Martin, 5419 Miles Boulevard. Let's put some perspective on this. This seat is for how long? This is temporary, correct? So we just have some perspective on this.
Till June.
Until June? So we don't need to take 5 weeks to make this happen, but I do like your ideas. So he is right. Let's put some criteria on it, tell them what they need, and let's vote on it in the next meeting. Let's make it simple. Let's not make it complicated, and let's not look stupid in the process. That's it.
All right. Mr. Brown?
Thomas Brown, 7436 Candlelight Court. Can you put the criteria in the Pasco section Friday of the Tampa Bay Times?
All right.
Jim, can that just be posted on the website?
I'm not sure what criteria
Well, not
means.
criteria, just the qualifications that are outlined in the charter, plus then.
Yes, just so everybody understands.
And the procedure.
Just so everybody understands. This, when you sit here for 4 meetings, 5 meetings, you will hold that office, okay? So the city charter will dictate that you have to be over 18 years of age, lived here for a year. And what's different, that's all the state law, except with one exception. You must have lived here for a year. Okay? Cities can take that all the way up to 2 years if they wanted to, so it is not identical to the state statute. It's the only thing the city can do that's differently. So if you're calling that the criteria, you could publish that all day long. Okay?
And a procedure?
And if you want to publish the procedure, you could do that too. That's up to the council, you know. How you want to do it, you know. You want to open it to the public and let them speak 3 minutes, or each one of you pick one person and have them speak? That's all up to you. All up to this council.
How about we just put it on the website?
Whatever you want.
Just put the criteria that's outlined in the charter, because that's the criteria,
Right.
and everybody's
That should
comfortable
be
with that.
eligible, right, just about everybody.
And then add how many minutes we want to think.
Add 3 minutes like the public gets?
3 minutes
3
at
minutes.
each
Right,
speaker.
and then we can vote on who we want to nominate at the end of that process.
when everybody's done.
When everybody's done.
And the way they did it last time was after the nominations were in. They did it alphabetically down the line, and whoever carried the vote, it usually didn't, well, it didn't amount to a lot of people, so it wasn't a major decision. But I believe that's the only way to properly do it, unless somebody's got another idea, is to just, once the nominations are made, we go alphabetically, and we get a motion and a second, and our nomination and a second, and go on down the line.
Where are they going to make these applications? To whom are they going to make these applications?
They just get to show up as long as they meet.
They just get to
Yeah.
show up?
Yep.
Oh, okay, so.
As long as they meet that. Yeah.
So anybody who wants to sit in that seat for 6 or 7 meetings will be here to speak for themselves and their particular persuasion for 3 minutes in the next meeting.
Yep.
And they must be a citizen in good standing, lived here at least 12 months, and no felonies.
Same qualifications.
Same
Right?
For the
Candidate.
office.
Okay.
Yeah, that's a state law.
So
They'll
we're,
be holding that office.
so we're absolutely clear on that then. That anybody who wants to come in here the next meeting can apply for the position.
As long as they're a citizen in good standing.
Okay.
I have one thing to maybe consider. At the end of that nomination period, how do you all feel about swearing that person in at that time?
It's up to you.
Well, I'm asking these.
I'm fine with that.
Are
As
you
long as
okay?
everybody gets their chance.
Yeah.
Everyone gets
After
their
everybody
chance.
speaks and we decide on somebody, they get sworn in at that meeting.
Sure.
Or at that interview process. Okay.
Okay, so, everybody spoke. We have a motion and a second on the floor. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye?
I,
Okay, it carries. Move on to the next item, thank God. All right, second reading of ordinance 10-667 regarding commercial maintenance standards.
I'll take that.
Okay.
Is the second and final reading by title only of ordinance number 19-667, an ordinance of the City Council of the City of Port Richey, Florida, amending Chapter 14 of the Port Richey Code Environment, adding a new Article 8 entitled, quote, "Commercial, Business, Institutional, and Industrial Structures," end of quote, providing for penalties and fines, severability, and an effective date. Looking for a motion to approve.
Do I have a motion?
Motion to
Do I have a
Second.
second? We have a motion and a second. Someone signed up, Mr. Colombo is still here? Yep, you want to speak to this?
Bill Colombo, 7810 Chaska Street. Yeah, just a couple of quick things. One is I passed around to you, there was some discussion as to NFPA Life Code last time you had your workshop. Now, in the cities of Newport Richey and county, they both have what's in front of you. What you have in front of you is a county. And it's basically an insertion in their code that references a lot of things like NFPA Life Code 101, building code, et cetera. We don't have that in our city code. What you have in front of you could, not necessarily be introduced into this ordinance, you could do this as a separate ad, but I think that would be a good thing for you to do. That gives the building inspector, it gives the fire chief, any of those codes that you adopt by reference, we don't have to type them out, Jim doesn't have to draw them up, but those are all rules and regulations that can be enforced by the fire official, the police officials, and the building official. Just a suggestion. The only other comment I have is on your ordinance. If you look at section 1D, you will find that any business person or commercial property who has excretion of pets or other animals on paths, walks, driveways, parking lots, or parking areas, or other parts of the premises which are accessible or used by people. Basically, anybody who owns a business who has some dog feces on their property is in violation of this ordinance. That seems a little extreme to me, but that's just my opinion. So thank you very much for your time.
Anyone else speak to this? Okay, we have a motion and a second on the floor. Anything further from council?
I think that when we were here the last time, we discussed this, and this just makes it a little bit clearer about the fire protection and everything, that it'd be part of the charter, at this, part of the code.
Part of the ordinance.
Yeah. It just seems like it just makes it more specific to have this in there.
All right. All in favor?
Aye.
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 All right, nays?
Aye.
No.
Yes.
Okay. Motion carries. All right. First reading of ordinance 19668 regarding waterfront overlay district.
Take this one, Sarah. This is the first reading by title only of ordinance number 19668. As you can see, pursuant to the City Council's instructions, and I've also consulted with building and zoning official, sections 2C and 2E are being removed, and the underlying zoning would be allowing marina. Is that right, Dallas? Did I get that right? There was nothing else stopping a marina except these two sections, right? We discussed that. So having said that, I think that was the goal of council. So I'll read it by title only. First reading, ordinance number 19-668, an amendment to the City of Port Richey, Florida Land Development Code 22-55E, amending 22-55E, subsection 2, severability, inclusion code, and an effective date. For a motion.
Motion to approve ordinance number 19-668.
I have concerns.
Pardon?
I have some concerns about this.
Okay, do we have a second on this?
Yeah, I'll second for the discussion.
Okay.
Okay. My concerns are, is the little wedge of land that we're talking about that is owned by, I never can pronounce their name correctly. It's right in a traffic area. If we have that and we have the Nix Park, I think it'll cause quite a congestion in that particular area, the bottleneck, because of the channel that runs right in through that area. I'm not sure that the people in this city really want to have a marina sitting there, because if you have storage, sometimes that goes up 2 or 3 stories, and that would change the whole face of the area. And I know that we were looking forward to maybe possibly having the hike and bike trail and be changing that area into a St. John's Pass type of thing. I think a marina would probably be a detriment to that. We have very little space on our waterfront on that side. We should be very, very careful about how we use it. It would be also a really excellent idea if we could put this up to a vote for the people or the residents to find out if they actually want a marina in that area.
Anything else? My concerns here, when you strike the whole line C, you start allowing gas stations to come in again, and that's problematic for me. I don't have a problem with, if they want a fueling on a dock or something, because that was, I think, what they were after out there. And we're already doing some of that in that area, and we're doing it, in my opinion, unsafely, because it's just 1,000-gallon truck sitting out there with a hose. I would like to do that, if we're going to do it, a lot safer than we're doing it right now. But I have a problem with allowing gas stations to come into that area. We've already got one there. I don't think we have the room, nor do we want to open that door, in my opinion, to allow that. Fueling stations or dock fueling stations, I think, would be a better way to term it if we were to pursue this in this direction. The other problem I had was on line E is outside vehicle or vessel storage. So vehicle storage is another thing that I think I would not want down there. So that would open that up as well. So I think verbiage needs to be changed on this to prohibit some of these things. We want to keep it, I think, going in the direction of that waterfront overlay. And I think this would open ourselves to having some other things come in down there that we probably don't want.
I don't think things can come in without council approval. I mean, they can't just move in there because the ordinance says that I mean, it would have to be all approved by council. This is just opening up I don't know if Dallas is, these are the things that are hindering the owners of that property, correct? And that's we were trying to help them out.
I believe the last submittal was to add a fueling station in the marina.
Right, we had to remove this so they could add their fueling station.
Yes.
Doesn't mean a gas station can move into the waterfront overlay district, because we would have to approve that, and obviously, that's not something we would approve, right?
That may or may not be correct. This is the WOD, the Waterfront Overlay District. Underlying the district, there are C2s and C3s, I think, and I believe the property you're talking about is a C2, I think, Dallas, I'm not sure. I know marina is allowed in the underlying zoning district. What these are additional prohibitions in addition. In other words, when you look at the zoning code C2, it tells you permitted uses, special exception uses, which would require council's approval. I think marina is a primary use that's allowed, and then certain uses that aren't. This is additional prohibitions on things you can't do. So the only thing that was stopping a marina there before were these two paragraphs, okay? So in other words, marina's allowed there, except you can't, the WOD says no gas station or fueling station. So if you want to have a marina there, you're going to have to strike fueling station because they're going to need it. You want to leave gas station there, you could do that, I think was your comment. The other was outside vehicle or vessel storage. I was told to strike those. Now vessel storage is what's stopping a marina, so if you struck that, they could have a marina, but I think you're going to store a lot of cars there. I don't know if that's what's intended or not, you know what I mean? You know, be a lot of cars sitting there, I don't know, but technically,
storing them there.
you know, it was set up before that you couldn't have a storage lot, that would, you know, that would be just boats or storage
Well, then,
lot for
to Terry's, can we change that to
I can change it
taking
any
the
way you
gas
want. It's easy
station
enough.
and
Matter of fact,
the
first
outside
reading,
storage?
it's somewhat of a minor change.
And then as far as Jenny's concerned about the racks of storage of the boats,
Well, that would be allowed. That would, the marina would allow that, that's for sure.
I know, but is there probably a limit on how high that can be done and all that?
That
Okay.
would be up to, I have to defer to Dallas on.
Yeah, I believe there's a height limit of what you can put out there in that
Okay.
area anyway.
We could limit it.
It can be restricted further by the council.
Okay.
We could limit it. If you want 2 stories or 3 stories
Yeah.
or.
So we have to change, you're not gonna limit it here, you'd have to change the C2 zoning code. C2
No,
zoning.
limit it here.
You could limit this way, yes, sir.
Yeah, limit it here.
Limit it.
Person.
Yep. Okay.
Yeah, and it's for us to determine that, how, you want 2 stories or 3 stories or
Right.
4.
Well,
So, well,
Do-
Mr. Mayor?
I think it needs a read.
Whatever you want, any way you want to do it.
I'm just concerned about whether or not this is going to fit in with the bike and hike trail and the future plans for what the area is about. We have so little waterfront to deal with. We have to be very careful about what we allow to come in there.
okay. Well, I've got that motion and second on the table here. You want to amend it, or you?
I think we make the motion, shouldn't we
You
make
can
a
amend- you can
motion to
amend it.
make the amendments discussed? then I'd like to make the motion to make the amendments to ordinance 19668.
Specifically what? I'm not-
Specifically removing the gas stations, and outside vehicle storage. And-
May I?
I mean the other way
Just-
around.
No.
So
Yeah,
in
the
other
other way
words, what I
around.
do
Yeah,
is.
yeah, it's what you leave.
I leave
Yeah.
gas station in
Yeah.
as a prohibition.
Remove fuel
And I
stations.
leave outside vehicle in as a prohibition, and just take out the fueling
Correct.
station and the
Yes.
vessel storage, is
Yeah.
that it?
Yes.
And then you wanna add one more, Dr. Bloom?
Well, I
That
don't
says
know.
no storage above certain height,
I
I
mean,
mean, you
that-
wanna add
I-
that
We
in
need
there?
more information for that, I think.
Yeah, we can.
I can bring it back
Sorry?
next time, you know, it's
Yeah,
only
we-
first
yeah.
reading.
Yeah, let's do that.
Look at it next time.
Okay, I'll bring it back with, Dallas, we'll chat about that, we'll bring it back.
We'll go to the audience. You want to speak to this item? Please come up.
Beth Pfeiffer, 6520 Ridge Road. Thank you for your time. I do want to remind council that I'm not asking for a marina. I have a marina. We have an existing marina. I pay a city business tax for this existing marina. The hike and bike trail is a wonderful thing, and I understand that, you know, you want it to fit in with what we do to fit in with your hike and bike trail plans. However, you can't take away from what we own. So, we have this piece of property, and I can go down there and I can put a car shop or whatever, whether it's a marina or whatever, what property I own can't affect your hike and bike trail, of which I would like to see, okay? So, what I'm asking to do is to take this vacant piece of property and make it alive again, because if you've taken a look at it, it's derelict. It's derelict, it's very bad. As an existing marina, it has poles, it has DEP permission to have the slips and all the things that go with that marina in that particular waterway. So when it was built as an existing marina, the waterway hasn't changed. So, you know, are we gonna take our property clear out to where we actually own the underground water? No, because we realize that we've gotta get under, you know, there's gotta be traffic going under the bridge and up to Newport Ritchie and all that. So, I'm not asking, can I have a marina? Because I have one. What I'm asking is, can I make it a working marina? With that, I need fuel. I don't need a Circle K. I need a fuel station. And Mr. Lupo remembers there is a waterfront master plan that he was part of developing, and I was too, that shows a fuel station. The EPA, the DEP, all these places are gonna make sure that we've got it safe, and they're not gonna permit us to do it. So it's gonna be done right. As far as how high we could go, I realize there are height restrictions. We're not asking to build a 15-story high and dry, okay? We just need some boat storage. No vehicle storage at all, okay? So those two things are all I want. I want some fuel. I want to rebuild what's there, because that's what I'm paying a city business tax for. It's been a marina since before I was born, if you look back into the records, and I'm old. Okay, so it's been there a very long time. So that's what I'm asking you to do. No Circle K, no Trump Tower. I just want some fuel and some stackables, and I want to move on and make that, when the hike and bike trail goes by, it's not a derelict piece of property, it's a working piece of property. Thank you, I appreciate it.
Okay, so did
Can
we?
I ask a question? How many boats does she figure that she's going to be storing there? I assume she has a plan, an approximate amount, nothing's final.
Dallas, are you familiar with how many boats, I imagine there's a code and everything for that storage?
Well, it's gonna come down to what type of, what you're saying, she's got racks. I believe I went to the plants and there were portable racks at one point.
I can't hear her, I'm sorry.
I believe at one point when I looked at the plan, the preliminary stuff that was sent in, it was a portable rack.
We haven't developed anything, because we're not gonna spend the money to develop anything until we know that it's worth our time.
Maybe another
That's
site
why I
had one that
approached
said
council
portable rack,
first.
but you can't have a portable rack because
So there's
That's just a hazard, just, you know, so they got 18 boats on a rack rolling down the road. No.
Oh, no.
It'd be a permanent rack.
No, it wouldn't
What-
be
what
like
you-
that.
what are
It
you
would be
looking
a
at?
building and it would be aesthetic. You know, it would be faced with, you know, what looks like Key West type stuff or condos or something like that. I don't know if anybody's ever been in Tarpon Springs and saw the Turtle Cove. It's gorgeous, it's beautiful. So that's kind of more what we're kind of looking to do.
Since we haven't got a set of plans in, the preliminaries
Okay.
haven't been committed.
Oh, we would have a set of plans, but we're not gonna
No,
draw
I'm saying at
plans
this
until
time,
the
we haven't
ordinance
seen
says we
anything
can
to
do it.
To show how many boats you're looking at to store
Oh,
on the
we would.
property.
Yeah.
That would come in at a later date and go before council. before
And
it's
we can
approved.
set that height requirement at that time.
For some reason, I believe.
We probably have a code on this, I would imagine.
There is a height already.
I was
Oh,
told,
there is a height.
I don't know,
Yeah.
but I was
44
told
feet.
that you can't go higher than any of the other
Okay.
restaurants that are down there, so I was kind of eyeballing Whiskey
35
Joe's and
35 or
eyeballing
40 feet, I think,
Catches.
is the height that I've seen somewhere, but I have to look at it with Veronica.
Yeah.
Yeah, actually.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Did we amend the motion?
We did to make the changes.
Yeah, I thought what you were doing is, I don't think the motion, I
We have to bring it
thought
back.
what council wanted to do was change it for those two things, but bring it back not for a reading, but with advice from Dallas to say most
Right.
of these things are 35, 40 feet, maybe you could think about it, right?
Yes.
Discuss it at the next meeting, is that what I heard?
Yep.
Yep.
Okay, that's what we'll do, I made a note of that.
No.
Dallas might want to see what's the standard, maybe it's 35 feet, you might want to give it some thought. It's easy enough to do.
Will that come as a first reading or second reading?
I don't know if, I'm gonna bring it back as a draft, because I don't know how many feet he's gonna recommend, you're gonna wanna talk about it. You know, you might wanna talk to her, see what it's like, it's up to you.
Very good. All right, I have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Nays?
Aye, I said aye.
Okay, everybody's aye? Okay. Motion passes. Considering the purchase for fire department gear, Chief, you want to speak to this, or Mr. Lupo?
This is just replacement of outdated gear. The NFPA recommends you replace the gear every 10 years. So there's 6 sets that we were ordering, and we will surplus 6 sets of gear that's past the 10, or up to the 10-year mark. And I believe it's already been, the line item is already in the budget for it.
This was a budget item already, wasn't it, Mr. Lupo?
Yes.
Okay, do I have a motion?
Motion to purchase, go ahead.
Motion to approve the purchase of 6 sets of firefighting protective gear for the fire department in the amount of $11,982.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion from council? Anyone from the, I'm sorry, yes, you signed up, thank you.
Sandra Spalding, 8612 Green Street. Yes, our fire department deserves whatever equipment they need, because if any of you were ever in need of them, you would realize how important they are to our city. And while I'm on the city, I'm going to take another minute to say something to everybody. All I constantly hear are things being said about how poor our city is and how bad our city is and how down our city is. That's bull. We have a wonderful city, and I want to start hearing the good things about our city, not all the drag down things. I'm getting sick and tired of hearing it. Let's look at the good for a change. Thank you.
Anyone else? Okay, back to council, anything further?
Old business.
Pardon?
Business?
Oh, wait a minute, we gotta take the vote here. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes. We'll go to old business.
The only, we've addressed the playground, we've addressed the dog park, and we have talked about and discussed the number of pets and pets owner within the city limits. The one thing that we did not address is, has anybody checked on the noise study for the garbage trucks that have been going in through the city?
Yes. Chief, can speak to that?
I was told that it was J.D. Parker, and I made a call to J.D. Parker just yesterday, as a matter of fact, and J.D. Parker does not service that area. So we're gonna have to find out who was complaining about the noise and find out what garbage company does service. They service the Channel Drive area, but they don't service the Harbor Point.
So we don't know who does that yet?
I use Waste Management.
We don't know.
I
I mean,
Yeah.
we were told J.D. Parker when I called them, they said.
Well, I know
she-
I use Waste Management on Bay
Okay.
Boulevard, so that might be who it is.
Well, we'll start with Waste Management. But I made a call because we were told it was J.D. Parker, trying to get some ideas when they could come or if they could move the schedule. And I was told they don't go in there. So it's not J.D. Parker.
Okay, and until we get the CAD system in, we're not going to be able to address the residents' request for a resident portal access for the new CAD system, so we'll have to wait for that one. That was all the old business that I had. Thank you.
I have some old business.
Okay.
Mr. Lupo,
Yes, sir.
out of the grant money that we issued for the minimum housing standards for based on the
Yes, sir.
income of the resident, it was the first $1,000, I believe.
Correct.
And then the second tier was 1,000.
Matching.
Matching, correct?
Yes.
How much of that money has been spent thus far?
I believe it's approximately,
No, if I recall, it wasn't very much.
no, it isn't. I believe we only have, and I apologize, Mr. Remashevitz isn't here. He had the report in his hand, but it's not that much. I'm going to assume about 16 or 17,000 maximum.
Okay. And that's been in place for a while.
Been in place for Dallas, what, about 4 months now? 5 months? Yeah.
I'd like the council to consider something here. Maybe we can change the second tier, since we still have funds in there, a significant amount of funds, and maybe those folks in that second tier level can't match that $1,000. So extend the first tier $1,000 through to the second tier and see if we can't get some more people help with that money, rather than having to match it. We have $50,000.
Yes, sir.
Earmarked for those projects.
Yes, you do, 25 and 25.
Yeah, but even at 16, we still haven't hit the first 25,000 for the lower tier.
Approximately, yes, sir.
That's still sitting there.
Well, it could be exhausted, and then the other people who would want to move into this can't, because they can't afford the $1,000, but they're in a little higher income bracket. So we may have exhausted the first tier, but I'd like to.
Essentially, if I may, sir, essentially what you're saying is to allow a larger income in order to increase the number who will have non-matching $1,000. Is that correct?
The second tier is based on income. It's a larger income, and it was a matching program.
Correct.
I think we just take away the matching $1,000, okay? And treat that as if it was the first tier, based on that income, the higher income. Right.
May I ask, you're saying maybe the total $50,000 would be all on the first tier?
Well.
Or the remainder?
Or the remainder of it that could be on there. I'm thinking maybe, and I don't know this until we find out, some people can't afford the match, but they're in a little bit higher bracket, so they don't qualify for the $1,000 grant and no matching, so that it doesn't cost them anything.
Oh, I understand, thank you.
How do y'all feel about that?
I agree.
I think that's fine.
Okay.
If it'll help the people
If
do get it done.
If it disappeared in the first 2 weeks, I would, but it's obviously not. So,
no?
Right.
I mean, we instilled that to help people, so I'd like to see it do just that.
Yeah, I mean, it's sitting in a grant fund, doing nothing.
Let me bring back a complete report, numbers, statistics for you, and at the next meeting, if you decide to go forward, we'll just simply make the motion to move it.
Fine. Perfect.
Anything else? Why not? been one of them nights. Name and address,
Dave
please.
Mueller, 5439 Blue Point. I like your idea, except we're only 4 months into this program, and you've already burned through a third of it. Basically, you're on track to spend it all over the period of time, okay? So maybe what you're looking for is re-advertising or pitching that again so that people that may have been aware of it, lost sight of it, bring it back into focus so people can re-energize toward spending down on the rest of the money.
We can do both.
We can do that in the water bill again, right? Put it-
Sure.
yeah.
Yes, good suggestion.
Yeah.
Mr. Mayor, if
Yes.
I may. The last figure I heard, and you'll correct me if I'm wrong, I think we went through, Jocelyn, I think I had spoken to her about that, $8,000 or $9,000. Does that sound right to you, Jocelyn?
I thought 12.
I had 10 in my head. I think we need to go back and check the
Well,
data.
we'll find out.
Yeah, I'll give you the exact statistics and the numbers. And
10, do I hear none?
All right, I'm looking for that wonderful motion.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.